Hello there. Eric here, your learning futurist. Well, Google has dropped a little bit of a bomb on us in the educational technology circles. Google Tour Creator and Expeditions, one of the most popular tools, especially for K 12 educators for things like virtual field trips, which was phenomenal during this COVID crisis for exploring places when you can't actually travel. They're basically disappearing and they're going away. So what does that mean? What do we have to do? Do we have to migrate away from these things? That's what this video is all about. It's mainly for you educators uh, and teachers uh, looking to find out what to do with all of your assets that you may have put into Google Tour Creator, some alternatives, some features to look for in some things to change to or to use moving towards the future. So let's talk about migrating from Google Tour Creator to something else, what to look for, and how to do it. Well, we're talking about basically two apps or two platforms rather, Expeditions and Google Tour Creator. Expeditions has been around for several years. It's the leading app platform to allow for virtual field trips. There are thousands of these field trips available. Teachers have been using them in class mainly, a lot of the times, to talk to the students directly and give guided tours, and students will have goggles on and be transported together to different places all around the world. Google Tour Creator was created afterwards to allow students to create their own tours, and then you could then import these tours into the Expeditions app to then guide and curate tours together for learning purposes. But they're basically going away. In my classes, I've been using these to great effect. Students creating virtual tours, especially in tourism education, and all types of kind of functionalities in our university and high school, things like open campus, things like experiential training, all that stuff has been great so far, but looks like that is over and we're going to have to try and use something else. Google announced this um, at the beginning of November 2020, and officially these apps will disappear by June 30th, 2021. That means we all have, by the time recording this video, about 6, 7 months to transition away from using these tools. There's a lot of things unclear, but there's some things we do know about this process. The Google Tour Creator is going away completely. You will not be able to create new tours after June 30th next year. The Expedition Act is also going away, but some of its functionalities and some of its tours will be moved over to the now expanding Google Arts and Culture program and application. What functions will be taken from the Expeditions app and applied to the Arts and Culture app? We haven't heard all the details about yet, but it looks like that functionality that we use in the classroom to do tours together, where a teacher or one person can be the guide and say, hey, look at this, hey, look at that, and students will be together taking a virtual trip, kind of like a mixed mode type of delivery. That will probably be going away, and the Google Arts and Culture app will be largely for individual consumption of the content. All of the tours that you've created with Google Tour Creator, maybe you've used them in Expeditions, they will all be archived or deleted. So they have mentioned that we will be able to have some way of getting back our assets before they're completely archived or deleted. Uh, that will likely not be a super user friendly process, going on how Google has done this in the past. It'll be a very um, kind of a dirty process. You'll probably be able to maybe get the assets for all the things that you've uploaded, and it'll be in some kind of archived file. So you have to dig around in your file to find what files you want. They might be renamed, and then basically recreate your tour if you wanted to on a different platform, sifting through all those assets. We don't know exactly how that process is going to work just yet, but going, for example, how when Google Sites upgraded to the new version, just going by that and a few other ways that this process has been done before, you cannot expect to have like a 1 or 2 click process to be able to transfer your assets to a new platform. Well, there's a couple of things that you should probably have in mind when you want to look for an alternative to Google Tour Creator and Expeditions for virtual field trips. You won't find something exactly the same. There's not quite anything just like Google Tour Creator, but Google Tour Creator wasn't the best either. It was just good for a couple of good things. It had Google Street View, which was its greatest thing, where students didn't have to upload their own 360 photos to the platform to create tours. That was one of the best things about it, in my opinion. But there's all these things that third parties and companies are doing to push the envelope of usability, accessibility, added features, and cool effect, novelty effect stuff that is going on with all of these up and coming products. And it's some ways, a lot better than Google Tour Creator. So, what kind of features are we looking for? Here's a list for you to consider when looking to migrate away from Google Tour Creator. Do you want to be on the cloud, or do you want to install it on a device? Google Tour Creator was basically in the cloud, like a lot of Google stuff. So if you can't connect to the internet, you cannot access or edit or do anything with your content. The same is true for Google Tour Creator, and a lot of these platforms now are also on the cloud, which means you have to log in, sometimes paid, sometimes not. And then after you log into a website, you can then edit your tours, create or edit your tours. There's a lot of these programs, though, that are actually pieces of software or an app that you download and install on your device. Many times this can be good. If you're a teacher that has access to a computer lab, this might actually be a better option if you're doing things in a classroom setting, or if you have Chromebooks or a special type of device your students have at home. You install a piece of software on your device. That software is for you to use. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's free, but some extra functionalities you have to pay for. But that software is on your device. You can create and edit your software no matter if you're connected to the internet or not. And that could be a big factor in deciding which tool to use for you. That is closely related to the asset management. If you're uploading to the cloud, how can you re-download those assets? How can you distribute those assets to let other people consume your tours, to use your tours? Can you download if it's on the cloud? Can you download all your assets and then upload it to your own perhaps web server, or archive it for your own purposes so we don't run into this problem again? Or does it keep all your things on the cloud, doesn't let you download it? Those are a big thing to think about and to look into, because if you can't have control of your assets, if it's difficult, if it puts it into perhaps a proprietary format, that could be a downside, at least in my opinion, when trying to pick the right tool. Publishing, right? Where can you access these tours? Are they freely available? A lot of things on the cloud. Kind of one of the things that's happening a lot is it's free to publish on their own platform. They can put their own logos and track things for data collection purposes on their own website. But if you want to be able to download assets and perhaps upload them on a web server, or maybe publish a white label app or something like that, that is usually much more costly. There's a couple of the next three: Hotspot, Auto Response, Maps, Dollhouse Views. Those are all kind of features that you might be interested in when looking at VR tour creating software. Hotspots are the points of interest that you add inside of VR tours. There are many different kinds of hotspots. Some allow you to have hotspots, but they don't allow you to link to other tours, which in my opinion, is one of the great things about VR tours, to be able to link them together. So you kind of have this kind of World Wide Web kind of effect where you can have collaborative tours with students and with other classes and other places around the world. I've had fun with that. Auto response, right? The resolution and the scale of which the tour is displayed on a screen. Slightly older software and stuff that you install will output tours, but only in a certain resolution. And that can be a little bit tricky depending on where you want to display it. So usually the newer stuff, the stuff in the cloud, is that's kind of the gold standard of web design these days, to make it auto responsive so it fits small screens like a phone and large screens like your PC monitor. That is something you'll have to test, and I really recommend it because more of us are consuming our VR tours on mobile devices, but we're creating them on PCs, and that could kind of make a mismatch on how things are both created and viewed and consumed. Maps, dollhouses, views, these are all different kind of functionalities of things. Like maybe you want to have a map in the corner and be able to click around on a map to jump to different places in a tour. A dollhouse effect is usually for real estate and perhaps indoor tours where you can zoom out and see like a 3D representation of a building and then kind of explore it in a 3D space. How you view it in different angles. There's a tiny planet that's very popular. How you can display it as in perhaps a widescreen. Can you zoom in? Things like that that might be important in your tour. And last but not least, does this platform allow for the management and creation of student accounts? Do they allow them to collaborate and create tours in a group? Not a lot of options for that last one. We're going to share some of these in the next step, where I'm going to kind of introduce some tools, some websites, some pieces of software that I have used that I'd like to share with you that go through some of these options. You can find more information in all these projects that I'm doing on my website, erichawkinson.com. Let's just go through some of these options right first. First one I have here is called Marzipano. This is the first options I'm going to show you. These are install options. So you download these first couple, and then you create your tour on your PC, and then upload them to other things, right? This one you can download it to all mobile devices, desktop. You can and you can upload to different places as well. What's great about this is that it's almost completely free. The only time they charge is when you want to download your assets for your own purposes or to upload to your own web server. So you can, it's web-based. I'm sorry, you start with you're entering your panoramas. You can add your hotspots. It's fairly user-friendly. The workflow is fairly easy comparing to a lot of other softwares that you do install. It's fairly new, so the design on it is fairly easy to understand. So out of all the ones that you can download that I'm recommending in this video, this is probably best for beginners in that install category that's not in the cloud. If you want to be able to do more advanced things, here's the next thing that I can recommend to you is 3D Vista. If you want to make a high class, very professional looking tour, they have a trial version, but the full version costs 500 euros. Sometimes you can find it on sale. I've had this for several years, and it is probably the most robust and powerful of the 3D tour creators I have ever used. And I can probably show you some examples, some demos of tours that I've created with this software as well. That's 3D Vista. Now let's talk about some cloud-based stuff. So These next two options are cloud-based, but I would say these are more for small projects, small groups of students, because you cannot manage groups of students. Students cannot collaborate together, but the pricing is cheap, and students can sign up for their own accounts and create tours. They're easy to use, and so these are very easily, I think, options for your students to use, uh, maybe on a remote basis on the cloud, and then be able to share them easily. First one here is Theasys. Um, Very easy to use. It's on the web. The pricing, if you want to look at now, has a very attractive free option where you can upload 5 panoramas and have all the features that the paid version has. But now, if you want to download things, you just pay $10 per download, and then you can upload them wherever you like. If you need a lot of content to upload, you'll have to upload to their $20 a month pricing. And but if you're doing a small student project, 5 panoramas is usually good enough. From my experience, having students do their first VR tour for class projects in a semester, perhaps, you can't really do much more than 5 panoramas. There's just not enough time to either do the photography or do all of the things that you need to do to get those larger tours in place in that amount of time, especially for first-time users. So that's a great, I think, option, a free option from Theasys, all web-based, and then you have the ability to download that archive for some money if the students want, which I recommend. Next one we have here is Panoskin, which is also cloud-based. You can sign up for free. They have a free option as well. This one is also fairly user-friendly. You can One thing about this one though is that it allows you to export your tours or your assets from your tour to Google Street View. And this, I think, is one of the reasons why Google is actually sunsetting the program, is that most of their data collection efforts to get more things in the world, more 360 assets from users like us, is coming from these third parties or other ways. So Panoskin is also fairly easy to use. It's web-based, and it also is about the same price as the Theasys. These are the two kind of options I recommend for smaller projects where you don't have to oversee the students' work. Now, there's one other kind of plus alpha around this one, and this is Roundme. This is probably the easiest to use as far as creating a tour. It's got great user-friendly stuff. The free option is very good. One bad thing I've noticed about this though is I haven't seen a lot of updates from the developers of this in quite a long time. But this is also a very good option for first time making a VR tour. All right, next, let's look at a couple of options for people looking to manage a group of students together. First one here is CoSpaces EDU. This one is where it's kind of got not just VR tours, but it's got a whole suite of different immersive technology options that you can add into using something like the AR Merge Cube and things like that. So if you want to do several different kinds of projects using different types of immersive education, immersive technology, this might be an option for you. I'm not too familiar with this one myself. There's basic, free, and pro as far as pricing goes. I have used the Merge Cube, which is a 3D AR trigger in which you can overlay 3D objects to actually hold them in your hand, which sometimes can be quite interesting. And there's a lot of cool kind of student projects around this augmented reality portion of CoSpaces. But you can also make 360 tours with this as well. Last one here is ThingLink, and this one I'm personally going to be switching to. I've used it for several years already. You can see I have a couple of tours here already from TEDx Kyoto 2018. And it also has the ability to edit student accounts and to manage student groups and classes. Also to have students collaborate on projects as well. So in my immersive tourism class, this is one thing that I'm going to be switching to. There's a couple of downsides to this as well, though. There's no way to actually download the tours and get the assets like you can and upload them to your own web server like some of the other cloud-based stuff that I showed you before. But I have the option to manage students, put them in groups, and actually have them collaborate in making projects and tours together, which is one of the biggest things that I'd like to do as well. So I'm going to try and put a list of all the things that I introduced down in the description of this video. There's one other thing, special thing, that's kind of a plus alpha about this, is that that special thing about that what made Google Tour Creator special is the ability to use Google Street View content, right? You didn't have to go out, you didn't need a 360 camera. You could just use assets from Google Street View and then start annotating them, putting points of interest, putting videos, adding narration to Google Street View, which was very good for first-time users. So students didn't have to do any photography. They can go in and start adding stories and narrations to existing content, which is a lot. There's a lot of Street View out there to use, so there's quite a lot to take from. You can still use that stuff. There are places. I'm going to show you this tool right now. It's called iStreet View. There are some other tools like this where you basically use this website to find a 360 panorama in Street View, and it allows you to download that 360 photo, and then you can upload that photo to the 360 tour creator of your choice. So this is going to be an extra step for my projects with my students because especially now that we're doing things remotely, we can't really ask them to go out to public places and take 360 photos. Not everyone has the ability to, even though some of us could with our phones. But anyway, this makes it so we can grab those assets from Street View and use them in our projects. So that's very important, I think, to know. It's still possible to get Street View into your tours using a couple of tools. You just have to take an extra step or two. All right, well, I would love to share some more tutorial videos on how to use these tools in depth. I just wanted to introduce some options to start thinking about so you can look into them to think about what to migrate to. If you want a tutorial on any of these tools and specific how they're used in classes for educational purposes, please reach out to me. If there's enough interest, I'll be creating more in-depth tutorials on these as well. If you want to know more about the project that I mentioned during this video, you can go to any of these. Orientation is a free-to-use augmented reality app that I've developed if you're looking to use something like that. Forever Kyoto, if you want to tour Japan in VR. Team Teachers for teachers to support each other with educational technology. Ready Teacher 1 for immersive technology tools. And togetherlearning.com is a platform that I've created for students to use all over the world to learn together. All right, well, that's it for now in this video. We'll see you in the next one, and I wish everyone the best of luck trying to migrate their projects and their students using a new tool for virtual field trips away from Google Tour Creator. All right, guys, see you next time. Bye-bye.